Hey everyone, what's going on? It's been a while since I made a video, but I honestly just needed a break from making videos for a while. I can document multiple things on my blog, and it doesn't seem to stress me out as much as making these videos. I really like making these videos because I can, you know, vocalize my brain. There's so many thoughts that are going on in my brain, and I see all of these different patterns and within the media, within my own life, and sometimes it's nice just to make these videos to get that information off my chest because, I can't do that in my real life because there's barely anybody who even will take the chance to try and understand what I am presenting in these videos. And in the last month, I've just felt a lot of negative energy too. Like, I don't know what it is, but there was just the last month, I felt extremely just pissed off at the world and just I don't know how to describe it. I had a ton of negative energy that I needed to just stay away from making these videos, and I don't know if it's just because what I really think it is because I feel like I'm just stuck. I've been making these videos for a really long time now. Like most people think I've only been making these videos since like 2015 when, after Zachary K. Hubbard, but really I've been making videos since 2013. And, I've been on YouTube for a lot longer than that, following other channels and seeing these patterns and, following the symbolism and knowing that numbers were important. And sometimes you just get burnt out on showing the same thing over and over to the same 30 people who watch these videos, and I'm grateful for the people who do, because hopefully they can learn from me, and I always learn from other people. It's not about getting, a billion subscribers, but it does seem odd with how many things I have presented, and I still have like the one of the smallest amount of subscribers compared to how many videos I put out. Doesn't matter if I make them long, doesn't matter if I make them short. I've had lots and lots of on-point videos that just get, nobody even knows about them. I've been the first one to say lots and lots of things that other people have ran with on YouTube, and somehow, like, nobody knows who I am, which is just seems fishy, and it's no big deal, but it's fishy, I question a lot about the truth community. I have a lot of questions about just truth in general, it I have so much synchronicity that happens in my own life, and you know, it's not to say that Freemasons and, the Jesuits and people alike don't understand this knowledge and they don't use this and they don't hoax our media, because that is absolutely true. And I say this all the time, but we do live in, some type of coded world that it is all to do with this. And I feel like I mean, even me making this video right now, I feel like it's just not even me making this video. I feel like it was planned. Like, like this video in the future, some event's gonna happen, and I'm gonna look back at this video and go, "Oh, look, I made this video on December 11th, and look how this syncs up, and look what I talked about in this video." Because possibly we have free will in this world, but no matter what decision you make, it is always going to be related at a later date to the same thing that is going on. No matter what decision you choose, it sure seems to me that it doesn't matter what decision you choose, it's always going to happen. And I've showed this many times, before I even knew this knowledge, before I even saw all of these patterns consistently, things happened in my life that were synced up, such as the death of my best friend's brother, and he died in a car called a Saturn, and Saturn equals 511, and he died on May 11th, and many, many other things. It's just that it's not from studying this knowledge that makes this stuff happen. what this stuff has been happening since the day you were born. You know, every decision you've ever made, it sure seems to me at least, it's all planned. It's all, you know, no matter what you do, it is gonna be by some type of system, and it's gonna fit some type of narrative that eventually you will understand. And you know, if you look up guys like Aleister Crowley or Crowley, however you say his name, you find a lot of people who talk about how he's hard to understand because he talks a lot about things that are personal to him. So that's what I've been doing for a long time. And people don't want to hear that part of what is going on with all of this knowledge, it seems. They want me to come out and say, oh, the Freemasons do everything, you know, the Freemasons this, or, you know, love Jesus and love God. You know, I don't fully know what I believe. I don't truly know what the fuck is going on in this world, you know? So I'm not going to sit here and tell people that I absolutely know anything, because I really absolutely don't know everything, you know? And I just think that I know what I think I know. And I'm trying to present this for other people to learn. And possibly, you know, eventually someday we can figure out what is truly going on in this world. And that stresses me out a lot, because when I make these videos, you see all of these connections, but then at the same time, it's like, how do I explain it without fully knowing what is going on? And you know, just true. Like, how do you explain it when you don't fully understand something? I mean, I think I understand it, but then I always find out that I don't understand it. You know what I mean? By it just over and over. I used to learn something a lot, and recently, that's really what a big deal is. Like, I feel like I've just done this for so long, and I'm like stuck. Like I'm not advancing the knowledge, you know. And the other day I was coming home from, I went to band practice, and my my friend, who's also the singer, whatever, I don't know how to explain it, but whatever, he's just my friend. I've known him for a long time. We're in a band together, and he's a really smart guy. He knows a lot about politics, but he just does not understand what I am talking about. And he, for whatever reason, he won't take the time to even look it up. And you know, one time I tried to explain to him, I was telling him about a bunch of stuff, and then his girlfriend said, 42? Oh, that's the secret to the universe, blah, 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 you know? And I said, well, you know why 42 is? And I said, in that movie, the computer is named Deep Thought, and Deep Thought equals 42, and the word computer equals 42, and the word Bill Gates equals 42, and internet equals 42. And then I went on and I said, and think about the Bible that is all coded with this system that I was trying to explain to him, how the New Testament begins with the 42 generations leading up to Jesus, and New Testament equals 42, and math equals 42, and you know, the Gutenberg Bibles originally had the 42 lines, and you know, Bethlehem equals 42, and Nazareth equals 42. Bethlehem in Judea, like it says in the King James Bible, that equals 142. If you read out 42, it equals 142. It also equals 43, the small y, just like if you read out Jesus Christ. So I tried explaining to him all of this stuff, and he just didn't get it. And then I'm telling you, I had all this negative energy, and I went to band practice, and I don't know what happened, but on the way home, I just fucking lost it to myself. I was talking to myself. Not really talking to myself. I was talking to whatever I think God truly is, you know. And it's like, why do you make these things so difficult to understand? You know, I see all of these patterns, and I don't fully understand the meaning. I just want to advance this. I want to understand more. And whatever, I went off on a big old tangent. It's like, what is the point of living when nothing I do is truly me even living, right? Because that's the way I feel. If you have followed what I am talking about, you will understand what I am saying. That, like, literally, it seems that nothing that I do is even me doing it. It just feels like it's just all supposed to happen. And when you see the coding behind it, you see that it was supposed to happen. And all of these things are supposed to happen on these certain times. And it's why I think that, you know, collectively joining together and going to a place like Washington and, what are we going to do? Are we going to go just kill all the Freemasons and kill all these people that we think are bad and then create this better world somehow, even though we don't understand how to even use this knowledge? You know what I mean? If we don't understand, I mean, just think about it. The people who understand this knowledge, whether it is the Freemasons for sure, or if it's just somebody higher up, and I mean, it's obvious when you look at Freemasonry and you see all of the stuff within Freemasonry and the headquarters with the 33 pillars and what so on. It's obvious that they do things by this code, or at least they understand that this code exists and whatever else. But the people who are ruling over us, they obviously are operating on some type of, way higher understanding or spiritual level or whatever. So if we march on Washington and kill all of the Freemasons and, you know, overthrow the government and whatever else, you don't think that that was already supposed to happen? You know, they created it that way for that to happen for that specific reason. You know what I mean? They already know what's going to happen. So the only way that we're going to beat this system and stop people from ruling over us with this system, or beings or whatever is ruling over us with this system, is to learn this system and learn how to apply this system. And we're just not going to beat them. It doesn't make sense to me to be angry all of the time. Like, what good does it do to be just absolutely pissed off and want to kill all these people when we don't even fully know like exactly how it all works? So I don't want to explain it. It's a very hard. These are the questions, and this is what stresses me out, and it's been stressing me out for years. But I just kind of been rolling with it. But I'm just coming out and saying these things. These people they're operating on this way higher understanding. Even 9/11, they purposely made it obvious. I can think back when I was in high school, and that's when I first knew numbers were important to what is going on. They gave us the death of Tupac, and if you looked up Tupac back on the old like Windows 95 with the dial-up internet, you could find all kinds of information on the internet about Tupac and the number 7, right? Whatever it was, he got shot at 4:03, 4 plus 3 is 7. He died 7 days later, and he has the 7-day theory and a bunch of other stuff, all about the number 7 and Tupac. And I knew that numbers were important clear back then. And then we had 9/11, and I knew 911, the emergency dialing code. I knew something's important with this, right? And then more and more things, they come out with the movie The Number 23, and they have National Treasure and a bunch of other things. And you start to realize that they're showing you what is going on. They want us to know. They want a certain group of people to be awoken, or whatever you want to call it, to a certain extent. So all of this is just truly planned. They wouldn't put out movies like The Number 23, where Jim Carrey does gematria, and he does gematria and Batman. They put it right in front of your face. They want people, or at least a certain group of people, to understand or try to understand what is going on. And they want people pissed off. Go back and watch I can't think of what the guy's name is right now. The guy from Nebraska, from the Warren Commission, and then the guy's interviewing him, and he says, "Oh, it's a 30-year conspiracy or whatever." Just go back and watch that video. Watch how that video cuts out, and then he says Article 3, Section 3, right? The guy interviewing him, because all of that was put in front of you for a reason. Like all of this truth. I don't know how to describe what I am saying, but what I'm telling you is everything that you think you know and you think you have learned, I just don't think that I think that is all part of the plan. Everything you've ever learned, it's part of the plan. We're all we're all being awoken to a certain extent, and we're all being controlled still, no matter how angry you are, no matter how unawake you are. It's all of it is controlled. So how do we escape from this? Even me making this video, I feel like right now it's supposed to happen. So what are we following? What is the true meaning? You know what I mean? It's so confusing, but it's way deeper. If they didn't want us to know, they wouldn't let us know. They wouldn't even put it in movies. They wouldn't put it in music. I don't feel like it's mocking us. I feel like they eventually knew that a group of people were going to figure this out and understand it. I really don't think it's mocking. And then they're using this group of people for a different agenda, if that makes sense. And you can disagree, that's fine. And I mean, I'd love to hear what you have to say, but from my experience in doing this, you don't have a choice. Everything that we do it is all mapped out. It's already supposed to happen. So it really is kind of like, what is the point of living, But oddly enough, so, that being said, I still don't have it all figured out, but it's very obvious to me people are operating on this higher understanding. And when I first started doing all of this, I mean, I was a complete atheist for very many years, and now I am not that way. There's something, whether it is some guy sitting in the clouds or if it's math or whatever, there's something that is God, whatever that is. It exists. And last month, I tell you, I was just in this just really negative area, and I said I went crazy, and I just said, what's the point of life? Like, what's it matter if everything I do is connected and coded and all happens for a reason? And the next day at work, whatever, I woke up kind of crabby, like, whatever. I hate getting up at 9 in the morning when I a lot of times don't go to bed till 4 in the morning. And I was at work, just whatever. I always start goofing off once I start waking up and whatever. And I don't know, I work at a gas station, so I talk to multiple people, and out of nowhere, like, I had this crazy migraine the very next day, and it was sometime around noon, and I've had 3 of these before in my life, and one of them was only a few months back in like August. I should look it up, but because I documented the amount of days and all that, but what happens, I've never had migraines like this. When I was younger, I used to have a lot of migraines, and my head just hurt really bad, and I couldn't sleep and whatever. And what happens recently is that, like, I get this crazy, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I get these blind waves, if that makes sense. I just see, like, these blind black spots, and then it looks like electric snakes are just going crazy in my vision. And it starts over here, and it just gradually moves over, and it takes like an hour sometimes, half hour. And whatever, that day, I knew it was coming, and I knew there was something wrong. It felt like I was having an aneurysm, and I went to the back, and I was like, I'm really sorry, I have one of them crazy migraines I had a couple months back. And um, I sat down in the back, and someone went up front and whatever, and I don't even know where I'm getting with the story here, but I had this crazy migraine, right? And then my head didn't hurt at all. Like, I just couldn't see. Like, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't function because I couldn't see. But after that happened, when it finally went away, then I got this pounding headache right between my eyes, right? Just this super pounding headache. And like, I'm, I'm telling you, like, after when I had this headache, right here, right where your pineal gland is supposed to be and whatnot, I could just see, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I was looking at people, and I could literally see, like, people glowing. It was absolutely amazing. And I don't know if that's some part of, like, You know, me complaining so much, maybe somehow that was some type of like enlightening thing for me or whatever. You know, I don't fully know. I don't know what it all means, but all I know is like right here hurt so bad. It was stupid. And like, I don't know what caused it. I didn't even feel that bad when I got to work. It just came out of nowhere. And I don't know. I could see people just, I could see like the light. I could see like the energy on people, if that makes sense. Like, I don't do any of that new age stuff. I don't meditate and whatever else, but when you read about it, you know, they talk about stuff like that within spiritual enlightenment, right? So it was just crazy to me. I mean, I could like see the energy within people, if that makes sense. Like people were glowing after it, and it lasted like I don't know, the majority of the day. And moral of the story, and I know I'm way in 20 minutes into this video, but I don't really care. If you go back and watch what I was documenting on this blog, pretty much all month, and funny that it was the 11th month, but it started on October 30th. I had all of this synchronicity stuff with the number 11. And it's such, you know, the number 11, it's a master number and whatnot. And lots of people talk about seeing 1111. And I had all of this synchronicity with the number 11. I'm going to explain it to you in a second. But after that happened to me, that migraine, it happened the next day after asking, you know, I want into this light. I want to understand what the hell is going on in this world. I want to know more, right? After that happened, I went home and I was listening to one of Zach's videos, and some guy called in and he was talking about the 11 pointed star on the Statue of Liberty. 11 points. And I went to Yahoo and I just typed in 11 pointed star on the Statue of Liberty, and the first thing that came up was about the 11, it's all about the 11 Klepoths, or however you pronounce that, right? Which is supposedly the dark side of Kabbalah, right? In Kabbalah, there's the 10 Sephirots, or however you say it, right? I don't know how to pronounce it, but the Sephiro or Sephirots, there's 10 of them. That's why God equals 10, Satan equals 10. You know, that's why binary code is ones and zeros, right? Because it's important. It's all about the 10 ways to understand the infinity, or 10 ways to understand God, right? Well, in the dark side of this right here, there's 11, because the top one, which is normally Keter, Keter, or how do you say that? But in the dark side here, supposedly, that's 11, because it's called Thaumiel, and it is the duality of God, basically, right? And think about the number 11. Think about the number 11. It's L even. Like you're even with God, right? Even with L. L even. And there's 11 klipas. So how interesting, you know? I was like, huh, that's pretty weird. I've been documenting about 11 like crazy. I asked for more enlightenment, and then the next day I have this crazy migraine, and then I discover this about the 11, you know, what do we call it? The 11 Sephirots of the dark side, basically. And you know, think about that too. What if the Klepoth, or however you pronounce this, what if this is actually the good side, you know? You know, we're always told all of these things that are lies, so what if this is the good side? Or what if there's something else that we're not even told about what at all? You know? What if there's something more? Like, what if, you know, and that's just the way my brain is always constantly thinking. I'm never just believing something, you know? What if there is more? What if there's something that we haven't even been told about that exists, and we're told this is the dark side and Kabbalah's the good side, and you know what I mean? And this isn't even the dark side, supposedly it's the, you know, off-balanced of the Sephiros, right? Of the Kabbalah. So basically it's like the off-balanced Kabbalah, you know, tree of life thing. So I guess it just made me wonder if, somehow by doing all of this, if I'm somehow practicing this and I don't even realize that I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Because I don't really have any clue how to practice Kabbalah. I can read about it and I understand, like, I get it. I understand what they're showing, but how to actually, like, practice Kabbalah, not just gematria that is involved within Kabbalah. I have absolutely no idea, like, what it all means. And, there's just so much more to learn. And same with this, right? So, interesting too, right? I talked about even with L, even, right, is 11. That's the master number. But also think about how in gematria, Jesus equals 11, and the word Pope equals 11. Just throwing that out there. So anyway, all of that said, let's look at some of this synchronicity stuff that was going on with the number 11. And it really all started on October 30th, which ironically was 11 days before my birthday. October 30th. And what happened that day was I noticed that the new schedule at work came out. And for some reason, I was scheduled at 11 a.m. on 11/11. And I thought, well, that's weird. I'm normally scheduled at 9 in the morning. And on 11/11, I'm scheduled at 11. And this, I realized this 11 days before my birthday. And if you followed me all summer, I talked about the importance of 11/11 at 11 this year in regards to the World Series because it was the 100th anniversary of World War I coming to an end, and the Boston Red Sox had won just before World War I came to an end, and they beat the Chicago Cubs on 9/11 to win the World Series, and a bunch more. That's why the date of Barbara Bush's birthday and Kanye West, their birthdays are 6/8, which is so important because 156 days before 11/11 of 1918, the year World War I came to an end, that was when we got the last Great American Eclipse, or whatever. That was in 1918, and it was on 6/8. And that number is really important to 9/11, right? 6/8, George Bush's birthday. 68 days before 9/11, and 911 was made the emergency dialing code in the year 68. It's the same year World Trade Center construction began. On August 6th, which could be 6/8 of the year 68, you know? And, think about George Bush giving this speech 11 years to the day before 9/11, right? Where the first plane that hit the buildings that looked like a giant 11 in the 11th state was flight AA:11. A is the first letter, so a lot like 11, 11. And NWO at Gematria equals 11. And, NWO, think about it. He gave his New World Order speech 11 years to the day before 9/11, the 11th state, and so on. But anyway, on this day where I found out that I worked at 11 on 11/11, my girlfriend wanted to go over to the casino in Ottawa, Iowa. And we went over there, and there was even 2 times that I cashed out with 11 cents. And then it was 11 days before my birthday. And I wasn't really even thinking about any of it. And on the way home, I just randomly wanted to listen to the band Finger 11. And my girlfriend I bought that deal where you can plug it into it's not Bluetooth, it's the old school way where you plug in this deal, you can turn the radio station, and you can listen to songs on your MP3 or whatever, has the aux cable. So we were listening to my phone, and I said, turn on the band Finger 11 because they used to be one of my favorite bands and whatever. And we kind of pulling into the driveway, and I put the car in park, and just before that I told her, play the song called Stay and Drown, because I used to love that song. I don't know what it is. That was one of my favorite songs on the album. And when I put the car in park and whatever, I looked at my phone because we were getting ready to go in, and I noticed that it was 11:11 when I looked at my phone, and I thought, what are the odds? I'm listening to Finger 11, and I look at my phone, and it's 11:11, and I just cashed out 11 cents twice at the casino, and then I remembered that it was 11 days before my birthday, and I'm like, what is going on here with this number 11? You know, why do I want to listen to Figure 11? It's pretty strange. And the song that I wanted to listen to, that we were listening to, it just so happened to be track 11. Like, what are the odds of that? Track 11, Finger 11. If you followed what I've been saying all summer, I talked about how there was some type of finger symbolism connected to pink and drowning, right? Go back and watch some of my videos. All of these things were interrelated. Fingers and pink and also drowning. And look at number 11 is. It's called Stay and Drown even. You know, just craziness. 11 days before my birthday. Listening to track 11, I look at the phone. It is 11:11. We're listening to Finger 11. And then 11 days later, on my actual birthday, I was uploading a video, and I noticed that in my Kanye West playlist, a Finger 11 song got added on that same night, October 30th. And what's weird about it is, I still don't understand why Finger 11 first time, and it's the 18th video in this playlist, and it wasn't in there before. I added it on that same night somehow into this Kanye West playlist that really has nothing to do with anything. I don't know why it would go into that playlist. And why it's the 18th video? You know, it should have been at the bottom down here, if anything, because these videos I put out before October 30th. So somehow this song, First Time by Finger 11, got put into my Kanye West playlist. And I uploaded this video about Kanye West, and I noticed it. You know, so it's pretty strange. And that was 11 days later. But the very next day, oh, my eyeball's watering. But the very next day, let's see here, if I could find it. The very next day after all this 11 stuff, my computer crashed. I was at work. I went to work the next day, and some guys, man, I don't know what the deal is with my eyeballs, like watering like crazy. But some guy used his debit card and it kept declining it, and his total was $19.99, and I said, oh, maybe Y2K has infected our debit card machine or whatever, you know, just something stupid. I don't remember exact wording, but his total was $19.99, and nobody even really got the joke, but no big deal. But anyway, I came home and I just thought, oh, I'll look up Y2K, and I was also looking up Klay Thompson, and because there was an article about Klay Thompson and LeBron James on Halloween, and Halloween's always been important to LeBron James. The year that he was Prince later died that year, and it was connected to the Cavaliers winning the NBA Finals and whatnot. Even Kevin Love was Jackie Moon from the movie Semi-Pro, and then Prince died on the night of a full moon, and a bunch of other things. But so I thought it was interesting, but I'm looking up Y2K, and I'm also at the same time looking up Klay Thompson, and I noticed all the pi connections again with Klay Thompson. His name equals 314, and Steph Curry born on 314 and whatnot. And I remember that Klay Thompson was all about the number 11. He's number 11, the 11th pick in the 2011 draft. And in 2016, 11 was this big deal with the Golden State Warriors and Cleveland Cavaliers, because Anderson Varejao got dropped from the Cavs and then picked up by the Warriors. And it was, 31 days later, which is the 11th prime number. And he replaced number 31, Festus Ezeli, who came back 31 games later. Or 31 days later. It was all about this number 11. So I was like, huh. And then the pi connections, the word pi equals 11. And then my computer, the hard drive completely crashed, and I lost everything. And that's pretty much when just, I don't know, bad energy really started happening. Like, That was 2 days before I had to go DJ a wedding, and I didn't have anything backed up, so I had to re-download like as many songs as I could think of. I downloaded them all off YouTube and wasted like 2 straight days of my life downloading songs off of YouTube just to make some type of playlist and whatever else. I'm going to finish this video tomorrow, actually. Funny, it's the 11th. I didn't even realize that it's the 11th of December. Hopefully I'll finish this tomorrow, but I really have to go to bed. I have to get up early. My son's going to wake up here in an hour, I guarantee it. So we get like an hour of sleep, but I'll finish this video tomorrow. So I didn't get to finish this video last night, so this is kind of like a part 2 to this video. I just kind of stopped in the middle. But I wanted to keep talking about this number 11 and try to catch up on some things. And when I was listening to this other part that I have on my computer here, it's funny, towards the end of this video, I kept saying how I had something in my eye, and I didn't mean that by any reason. I really did have something in my eye. I don't know, like my eyeball was burning, so just wanted to point that out in case anybody thinks I was doing that on purpose. I really wasn't. I was just talking, and like my eyeball had something in it, so I don't know, I just thought it was funny. I wanted to clarify that. But anyway, in regards to all of these 11 things, so they kept happening over and over and over. I even did this trivia night thing, and it was a weird thing, like, too. I've done it in the past, and it was a lot of fun. Everybody goes and parties, and there's usually a lot of teams, and it's just for some, like, community thing, and this year I could not get a team together at all. Like, nobody wanted to do it, and I've got home after work, and I finally just gave up. I was trying to get all these people, and nobody wanted to do it. And like an hour before, one of my friends from high school, he lives about 20 minutes away from where I do, but I don't really hang out with him that often, but he texted me on Facebook and he said, "Do you want to be on our trivia team tonight? We need another person." And I was like, crazy, because I've been looking for people all day long for this trivia night thing. And he just randomly texted me like an hour before. So I went and joined their team and whatnot, and there ended up only being 3 teams that showed up. So we just all got hammered and whatever, goofed off. That's pretty much the whole point of it anyway. Funny, though, that the very first question was about what president signed the national anthem into Congress as the Star Spangled Banner, and everybody thought I was crazy when I said it's Herbert Hoover, and I even know the exact day and year and everything. And they were like, "How in the world do you know that?" So I just thought it was funny that it started off with a question about something that I had been super covering for the last year or whatever, Herbert Hoover. And anyway, long story short, so when this got done, there was also a band playing in Woodbine, Iowa that was 10 miles away. So we were kind of bored. It got over about 10 o'clock, and me and my friend from high school decided to go up to Woodbine, and whatever. I don't really remember. I like whatever. We came back. He dropped me off, and apparently he got a DUI that night after he dropped me off. And it's weird because when you read to the paper, I don't know what he was doing. It doesn't make any sense because, like, the paper says he got arrested like an hour and a half after he dropped me off, and he only lives 20 minutes away from where I live, so I don't know. I didn't think he was that drunk, but apparently. But anyway, he texted me on Facebook saying that he got a DUI. Not that he was just joking, but he wasn't. And what's funny about it is that he texted me that at 11:11 on Facebook, and his initials are KK, which is the 11th letter, 11:11. So he gets this DUI, or in Iowa it's called an OWI, but you know, his initials are 11:11, and he messages me that at 11:11. You know, just craziness. I talked about how I looked at my clock one day, and it was 11:11, and I noticed that my alarm is set for 11 till 9, 9:11. Later that day, the first time I looked at my phone to do anything was after work or whatever, and we were in Council Bluffs, and I went to ESPN, and the Bears score was 11. The Bears were winning by 11. I mean, just that's a weird football score to begin with. 11-0 when I happened to be looking at it, and it just so happened to be in week 11. And then later on, we had Alex Smith, right, number 11, get injured. That was all super coded by the numbers and whatnot. But, Alex Smith gets injured week 11. Alex Smith, really important to this Moses narrative that I have been talking about since 2015. And what's funnier yet is that, I don't know, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to win. I really don't care. I'm not trying to make predictions, but the Chiefs are a team to watch for because there's been all of the synchronicity things all of these things that I talked about in 2015 just keep coming up. And I've mentioned this earlier in the year. That's why we had the Eagles in the Super Bowl, because the Eagles were really important to what I was talking about in 2015 in connection to an earthquake. And then we had that earthquake that was a 4.1 that was synced up to the Eagles being in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl equals 41. They won with 41 points. But the team that year, I was talking about how the Chiefs were connected to the Chicago Bears and the 85 Bears that went on to the Super Bowl to beat the Patriots, right? They won with 46 points, and what is it? Patriots equal 46, and they were using the revolutionary 4-6 defense. And Chicago equals 46, and can't even remember. I think there was something to do with 46 yards and that, but so it's just interesting. The Bears had 11 here, and then Alex Smith, number 11, got injured. And it was all about the number 11 and 31 that I was talking about in 2015 with Alex Smith and the Chiefs. And I think, can't remember what it all was, but there was all kinds of stuff, Alex Smith played for the Utah Utes, and I think Utes equals 11, and just a ton of stuff. I have to go back and look at my blog post, but just the Chiefs just seem like a team to watch for. I want to see what happens with the Chiefs. And, they're super connected to that Moses theme because they play in the Sea of Red, and Moses part of the Red Sea and whatnot. And like I said before, that's why the Nebraska Cornhuskers had a terrible season. That's why UCLA had a bad season, because in 2015, it was all synced up to Teen Wolf, and Nebraska somehow got a bowl game to go play against UCLA in Levi's Stadium, right? And that's where the Super Bowl was held that year. And Moses was in the tribe of Levi and a bunch of other things. And Nebraska also plays in the Sea of Red, and they also play in Lincoln, Nebraska. And that's why it's important to think about Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves and Moses freeing the slaves. Lots of other things too. I don't want to lose you here. I want to keep talking about some of the 11s. Well, I'll just mention one really quick, but I talked about how there was something showing me San Diego, and I didn't know what it meant. I was thinking maybe watch something to do with the Chargers, or I wasn't sure. I was talking about how my cousin lives in San Diego. Let me find it here really quick. There's something to do with San Diego. I just want to make a point here. Yeah, see, so I wrote this blog post on November 14th. Unrelated, but something with San Diego. And then I talked about, I got a Facebook notification that didn't even involve me. I wasn't tagged in it. And it was about Balboa Park in San Diego. And then there was something else that was similar to that was showing me San Diego. And there was a bunch of stuff that I had just recently documented about with Ronda Rousey losing, or in UFC 190 that was in Brazil, and just a bunch of stuff that was synced up to Brazil. And my cousin was in Brazil when Steven Tyler got injured, and he's from San Diego. So I knew there's just something important to San Diego. And then, lo and behold, 11 days after I wrote that on my blog, we got the major story about in San Diego, how they were closing the border and whatnot, and all these migrants were trying to get in. So just thought that was funny. And it was 11 days after I document some random thing about how there's something important to San Diego. Then 11 days later, we get a major story about it. But they also brought back a story about, so we had Carmelo Anthony was big in the news, and then Carmelo Anthony supposedly went and hung out with Xavion Dobson's brother. Remember, Xavion Dobson supposedly got shot in 2015 in December, right? Just after the Paris attacks. And if you go and look at that, if you go and look at the article that they gave us, they had Carmelo Anthony wearing a Paris shirt. And it's all about Paris. I'm going to make a separate video on this, but I pointed out he's wearing a Paris shirt. And this was early in the morning, November 17th. Then later that next day, that's when the Paris protests began, right? And there's all of these things that Kanye West being in the news. If you go back and watch my videos of 2015, Kanye West was super important he was connected to the Paris attacks, right? Kanye West was connected to the Paris attacks. Xavion Dobson had connections to the Paris attacks. And then Charlie Sheen was really important too. Charlie Sheen came out and said he had HIV just after the Paris attacks, right? And the Paris attacks were all synced up to the movie Team America, that after they go in, there's the terrorist attack in Paris, it comes back to the song Everyone Has AIDS, right? And then Charlie Sheen comes out and says he has HIV on November 17th that year. Then the Paris protests begin on November 17th. And now today we got a story about the Charlie Sheen and his 1 year of sobriety, a mainstream story about Charlie Sheen, and he's talking crap about AA a long time ago, AA, 11. Think about George Bush too, like I said earlier, I think in the video. George Bush, the guy who gave the New World Order speech 11 years to the day before 9/11, on the 11th day, on the 11th state, at the buildings that look like an 11, flight AA-11, much, NWO in Gematria equals 11, but I figured since Charlie Sheen made the news, maybe Taylor Swift would be in the news because she was important to what I was talking about. I typed in Taylor Swift, and of course this article about her and her boyfriend, who is in this movie that just came out called Mary, Queen of Scots. What are the odds of that? All of the stuff I talked about with Kanye synced up to the Queen symbolism, right? He sung the Queen song at Glastonbury. And then, Freddie Mercury had AIDS, right? Bad Blood. Then later in 2015, Taylor Swift sang Bad Blood at the VMAs. They called her the Queen of the VMAs because she won the most awards and whatnot. And her name equals the same as Queen Elizabeth II, just like Beyonce Knowles. But just think about the recent news too, and recent things. They came out with the Queen movie, right? With the Freddie Mercury movie. And then we get the Paris protest just after all of this. We had Kanye West go to the White House. Now we have a story about Charlie Sheen being sober. The reason Queen of the Scots is so important is because Mary, the Queen of Scots, was King James, the guy who made the King James Bible. That was his mother, and she actually got beheaded by Elizabeth I, the queen who was before King James, right? Just think about that in regards to Elizabeth II. So, and there's something we also just to keep in mind. Just keep in mind what I talked about at the end of 2015. I talked about how the Miss Universe was super connected to the death of Jimmy Carter's grandson and a bunch of other stuff. And also, I think the Paris attacks and the Queen symbolism. And so on Pope Francis's birthday this year, we're going to have the Miss Universe in Thailand. So something to just keep an eye on. I talked a ton about the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia and earthquake symbolism too. And then also Xavier Dobson, who of course we just got that story about his brother. So if you look up the Chiefs this week, the Chiefs are playing the Los Angeles Chargers this week, and the Eagles just so happen to be playing the Los Angeles Rams. So just interesting, these two things that I was talking about, both of them teams play a Los Angeles team in this coming week. So I don't know. Just something to point out. Possibly we're going to get something major in the Los Angeles area within this next week. So anyway, let's go back to some of the other stuff that I was going to talk about. Actually, I think I was just going to mention one more thing with the number 11, which is interesting with George Bush. So George Bush, he dies on the same day as, Paul Walker and some, whatever else. Paul Walker in the movie The Skulls, and he gets the red Porsche in that movie, and then he later dies in a red Porsche in real life. And then, George Bush and Skull and Bones, and the that movie's all about, basically the Skull and Bones Society and whatnot. So, but anyway, George Bush, the same day that he died, we also got the Alaska earthquake, right? And it was in Anchorage, Anchorage, Alaska, once again, on 11. And what I pointed out in this post was how we also had the death of John McCain earlier this year. And if you remember, John McCain's running mate was Sarah Palin, who's connected to, Alaska and oil. And then we have the, all the WWE stuff, the crown jewels, synced up to Saudi Arabia. Then we have Jamal Khashoggi, Saudi Arabia. We have George Bush's dog named Sully, right? And if you go back and look at my posts, I talked about how they found them two Saudi Arabia girls in the Hudson River and how it was synced up to Jamal Khashoggi. And also that movie Sully, right? Miracle on the Hudson. And then we get the story of George Bush's, his dog being named Sully, right? What are the odds of that? And that was all about the number 99. Them two girls were even found dead 9 months and 9 days after the anniversary of the Miracle on the Hudson, and that movie came out on 9/9, which is important yet again to Queen Elizabeth because 9/9 is the day that she became the longest reigning British English monarch in 2015. It's also Adam Sandler's birthday. He's really important to the earthquake symbolism that I talked about with Philadelphia. Right now we're in the 99th season of the NFL. So, and in regards to that, and in regards to the number 11, a long time ago, I think it's even before I even knew gematria, what I pointed out with the New England Patriots, I'm pretty sure they went to the Super Bowl and lost in the 66th NFL season. Let's see here, 66th NFL season. So that was 1985. The Patriots went to the Super Bowl that year and lost. And then 11 years later, in 1996, the Patriots went to the Super Bowl and they lost. So that was 11 years later, right? The 66th season, then the 77th season. Just want to make sure, yeah, the Packers won. So then we'll go to 2007. That's 11 more years, right? Oh, I spelled season wrong. Wow. This was the 88th season. Once again, in 11, they went to the Super Bowl and they lost. Now we're in the 99th season of the NFL. It's 11 years after the Patriots lost to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. It just makes me wonder. 66th season they lost to the Super Bowl. 77th season they lost. 88th season they lost. Now it's the 99th season of the NFL. Would they possibly go and break that curse? Or would they, are the Patriots going to make the Super Bowl? I don't know. It's just an interesting pattern that I documented a long time ago in regards to how it syncs up with that number 11 and whatever. So anyway, what I talked about with all the this Alaska earthquake stuff, I talked about how the gas prices were the lowest I've ever seen out of nowhere. That was like a big deal. The gas went down to like 206 in the gas station that I work at, and that's the lowest it's been in years. And I started thinking about Sarah Palin and Alaska, right? And just think about it, right? The oil reserves and whatnot, and think about George Bush and 9/11, and so many people think that we went into Iraq and it was all about oil. And then we have Jamal Khashoggi, big in the media, right? Think about Saudi Arabia, think about oil. And I was just pointing out how there's, it's connected to oil. And then, of course, the Paris protests, they keep saying that it's all about the taxes on the gas, right? The oil. So I don't know. It's just interesting. And I documented some of this stuff. And then just a few days later, we got a story about the country, however you pronounce it, Qatar, and they left the OPEC, which is a big factor in deciding the oil prices. So, I don't know, just interesting. There's definitely something going on with oil. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't know if I see the full meaning with that, but there's definitely something going on with it. And the word gas equals 18, the word oil equals 18, Alaska equals 18. Just thinking about fracking once again, too. And, earthquakes. George Bush's birthday on 6/12. That big day in regards to Revelation 6/12 that talks about a great earthquake. And it's also the same day that Donald Trump went and met Kim Jong-un. It was a super important day. And syncs clear back up to the Stoneman Douglas shooting, the Orlando nightclub shooting. Also when LeBron James made his comeback wearing the Ultimate Warrior shirt or the Undertaker shirt and whatnot. So I'm hoping to make some separate videos on this. I just wanted to make this random video to kind of get back in the swing of these things, and because I definitely want to make videos and just to get things off of my brain. It feels you just bottle it up, and that makes it worse sometimes too. But I've really been at peace lately. I don't know. I don't know. It, within the last week or two, I've felt a lot better, and I don't even know how to answer what I'm saying. I feel like just happier. Like I'm happier than I've ever felt in my entire life, and I feel like it's just from knowing this knowledge, like understanding so much more about the world. Although I want to know more. And earlier in the video, I wasn't saying that we shouldn't keep trying, and I mean, people should be angry, but not really, because we don't fully know what is going on in this world. We should be more, you know, not so much angry, but more anxious or something to figure out the exact thing that is going on and how to apply this knowledge and use it for the greater good instead of just wanting to go and beat people up and kill people and whatever else that we, you know, associate all of this with, even though, who knows? I mean, I'm not saying just quit this, and it just seems that everything in your life is completely planned. You know what I mean? It seems like there's this ultimate plan, and no matter what you do, you're not gonna escape it. You're whatever decision you make, it's still gonna be related back to the way that this world is put together. And maybe maybe all of these things are just happen to be because there's some type of whatever, maybe people are using the negative side of Kabbalah, right? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're using it against me for some reason, but I just don't see why I am such an important person, Especially when I have barely any subscribers, like it doesn't make any sense. It's definitely does I don't know. It doesn't make that much sense that they would do that. So, because I think that it's just so much bigger, it's there's so much more to understand about this that, we can't we can try to create solutions right now, but we can't really create a solution until we understand how to use this. So I really want to start studying more about magic and other things to see if see if I can apply this. And I don't know though, but then at the same time, like it's like if I start doing that, that's might just be planned for me to do that. You know what I mean? It's just so complicated. Like I don't understand this world that we're living in, especially when you see all this and you get all these synchronicity things. It's just so confusing anymore. Like I mean, I know that there is just something so much greater in this world, and that's what I started making these videos for. That's what I started researching for, because I've always wanted to know more about the world and what is going on and why things are a certain way and why so many people just blindly follow and don't think. And that's the whole purpose that I even started doing any of this, is to me personally learn more about the way the world truly works and what is really going on. And I know I'm never going to fully understand that, but I don't ever want to quit learning. But sometimes you just need to take a break. It's like, I mean, I want to enjoy my family life as well. And that's what I've been doing lately. Just, I mean, I can still blog stuff, but making these videos sometimes takes a lot of time. But I really only enjoy making these videos anymore just to get things off my mind. So I don't even know, man. But yeah, anyway, have a good one. Peace. And I don't know. Hopefully I'll get some inspiration from this video, and then maybe I'll be able to make a few more. Also, really quick, if you want, you can add me on Facebook. I have been putting stuff on Facebook lately. You just type in my name on Facebook here. Just search my name. Like I said, I started a whole new Facebook. This is my other one that I don't really add anybody to, but if you go to this one with this picture, I'll probably add you. I noticed right when I added this, I get all of these. Well, these are all people that are from my other one for some reason, but I don't know. They're not ready for the information, so it's just not. It's kind of pointless to add some of these people, but I got a whole bunch of people from different countries, and I don't know if they're webcam girls or what's going on with it. So I started adding a bunch, and then I realized that they weren't like real people. So, but whatever. Have a good one. Peace.